Hello YouTube, it's Barbara Jean. This is a doozy. This is a doozy. Stay tuned. I want to read a couple of Bible verses first. I want to first read Genesis 3:14, starting at starting at verse 14. And the Lord said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and dust shalt eat. Thou shalt eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. um, Bruise his heel. Okay. So, and then I want to read. I want to go to 1 Peter 3:6. Okay, this is talking about Abraham and women honoring their husbands, and husbands loving their wives. 1 Peter 3:6. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them, that's talking about your wives, dwell with your wives, according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. Okay, especially that part there. I wanted to say here, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, not the stupider, or the less honorable, or the less saved vessel. It's the weaker vessel, as in physical strength. Okay, now I want to go to Ephesians 5:25. I'm going to read this long passage here. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of the water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. And I want to stop there for a moment and just say, this is getting very close to being fulfilled. This is extremely close to being fulfilled. I just want you to know that. I know for a fact that this word is almost fulfilled. Okay? Let's continue. Let's actually just read that verse again. That he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. That he that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church. For you are members of his body, and of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and the two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and as the wife see that she reverence her husband. Okay. What am I saying? This is a big one. This is a big one. I don't know what's going to go down, but something big is getting ready to happen. I was on the internet for most of the day. I was watching a lot of videos and the variety of things, and I was watching. As you know, I had this over the weekend. Actually, it was on Thursday and Friday. I had this eye thing happen, and the Lord showed me that this was a spiritual issue for the bride, for the church to have her eyes open. So that she's not going to be blinded by the coming of the Lord. She has to be enlightened, fully enlightened, or be, in other words, without spot or wrinkle, okay? So that she's not blinded by the coming of the bridegroom. But I also said on the video, and sometimes I say things I don't realize I'm saying it, I was talking about how Satan has his eye darkened because of idolatry. Um, uh, because of idolatry, his eye is darkened. Basically, Jesus came down with the heel of his foot and bruised the head, which I just read it in Genesis. He will bruise the head of Satan with his foot, and he's doing it not just once. He's doing it many, many times. When he was on the cross, he did it. When he was on the cross, every time he has a victory, he's bringing his foot down on the head of Satan, and Satan's getting ready to have his eye completely blinded, completely blacked out. um, I feel like this is what the Lord is saying, because that enmity between the man and the between Satan and the woman, this hatred, this war between the woman, which is the church. There is a war going on, and the woman is standing up. She's starting to find her power. And now this is not really where I wanted to go with this, but I just had a dream. I just had a dream, and it was extremely intense. Extremely intense. In fact, I thought it was really happening. It was my fourth Obama dream. My fourth Obama dream. Now, before had gone into this dream, and sitting in my chair under this anointing, I was watching Alex Jones, and they was talking about this gender thing that was going on with the bathrooms, and Obama being a male, and no, it could have been that. At least I thought it could have been at first. I thought, well, maybe it's because I having this dream because I just finished watching these videos. And then I realized, no, because the anointing was still on me. The anointing was so heavy on my head. It, I was immediately like, I couldn't. It was very. I can't explain it. It's just a very, very heavy anointing, and this weight and this heaviness on my head. The dream was, the dream was I was arguing with Obama. This is my fourth Obama dream, and as I was arguing with him, he was him and Michelle Michael. Um, I was having an argument with them, and it was a very intense argument. Now, I can't go into all the details of it because it was a very oriented dream, and it had a lot of things, nuances that I didn't understand, and still probably don't understand now, except for the fact that when I was arguing with them, and I was arguing with them really strongly, I was having a fight. It was a real intense anger fight with Obama because him and Michelle, were oblivious to the danger that they were putting women in and the children in with their transgender bathrooms and their transgender this and that and the other thing. And I was arguing with them about how they were lying to us and insulting the American people, and they had no idea how that they were putting the rest of us, the real women, in danger, and lowering our status so that a few 0.0003% of the population can feel happier about themselves. Well, meantime, the rest of us are vulnerable, and how they have insulted us and lowered our standards and lied to us. Lied to us. Like, that's what the thing that kept coming up. The lies that were coming out of their mouths on a daily basis about what they were up to and what they were doing. And I was having this intense argument with them. Now they were angry because that Michelle Obama didn't get her name in the paper for going to this Buddhist temple, to pray at a Buddhist temple. And I said, well, you know what? She'd be in the paper for the fact that she's not even a female. That's what should be in the papers. So I was having this major argument with them, and unfortunately, I didn't get to see how the argument ended because the phone rang. In reality, the phone rang and woke me up. But that's when I stopped and I thought, what was that all about? Because I thought it was really happening. I thought I was really having this argument with Obama and Michael Obama about what they were up to and how they insulted the American people. And anyway, I thought to myself, was this a result of what I just finished watching? But like I said, the anointing was so heavy on me, I knew that it wasn't finished. So the Lord finished. He was going deep. I'm serious. He was going deep. I could feel it all the way back down my neck. That's how deep this was going. And when continued, this anointing continued for about 20 minutes as I sat there and let the Lord finish doing whatever he was doing. And then I sat up and I thought about it for a moment. And then all of a sudden I just realized this was the Genesis curse. This was getting ready to, something big is getting ready to happen. Either there was a huge reversal getting ready to happen where goes back to Genesis, the enmity for the woman. And this is where this all stems from, people. Not realize, this gender bathroom thing may seem like a minor thing to a lot of people, but it isn't, because rules are put in place for the protection of the innocent. That's why rules are put up. That's why you put up walls, to protect your citizens, to protect your people. And who are the vulnerable people here in this situation? It's the women and the children, because we're the weaker vessel. Now, I know of which I speak here, because before I years ago, I don't know how many years ago now, it had to be over 15 years ago. I was working at perfume, and I worked in a department store. I wasn't directly hired by the department store, but I was one of those perfume demonstrators. And so I used to hand out perfume samples to, people walking by and through the store. And anyway, one day I walked into the women's bathroom. Now, this is about 15 years ago. Oh, was it that long ago? Well, it was around about that, maybe 13 years ago. I walked into the women's washroom to use it, and there was a man standing in the women's washroom, over 6 foot tall, full beard, wearing men's clothes, but lipstick on his mouth, and carrying a purse. And the moment I walked in, I was in shock. And he was standing there, and he screamed at me, "I'm a woman! I'm a woman!" And I was like, I was in shock about what just happened. I didn't really know what to do, so I just kind of ignored it for a moment, walked into a stall, did my business, and the whole time praying, "Lord, what is going on here? What should I do about this? I don't know what I'm supposed to do here." Came out of the store, he's still standing there. Standing there. Not that he was using the toilet, he was standing in the woman's washroom to prove his point that he had the right to be in the woman's washroom. Was washing my hands, and I was so angry. I was so angry. And I didn't even understand exactly what it was. I was angry, but I felt like violated by this man, and not even impersonating a woman. He just had lipstick on his mouth and carrying a purse. And he was a big, big, tall guy. Powerful man. And I'm standing there, and he says, "I have a right to be here, in this aggressive tone, which is totally not womanish. His aggression, his mannerisms was not feminine. Let's put it that way. He was not feminine in his attitudes. He was definitely male in everything he was doing, and his appearance. He was there to put fear and intimidate, to violate. That's why he was standing there. Thankfully, I made a sterner stuff. I don't know about the other women who had to face him, but I was washing my hands. I was so angry. And he says, "I am a woman. I have a right to be here." Oh, and I said, "Sir," I turned around and faced him. I said, "Sir, you have a full-grown beard." And he stopped for a moment, and he thought about it, and he said, "Well, the law says I have a right to be here. I'm a woman." And I said, "Oh, you were born with a uterus?" And of course, that made him pause. "Were you born with a uterus?" And then he stopped again, and he said, "Oh, well, I have a right. I'm a woman. I feel like a woman." I just said, "That's enough." And I walked out. Went to the store management. I said to the store management, "There's a man in the woman's washroom, scaring the living daylights out of people." And I talked to the store manager, and they said, "Well, there's nothing we can do about it." That was back 15 years ago. There's nothing they could have done about it. They couldn't enforce the law. They couldn't protect the vulnerable. They couldn't protect the weaker vessel, the women and the children. That's who's at stake here. Now, this isn't just about the women, people. Let's reverse this for a second. I doubt for a moment that you'll find very many lesbian women, dyke women, excuse the language, but that's what they are, walking into a men's bathroom and pulling this stunt. Why? Because they know they're the weaker vessel. They are vulnerable. And yet, here we have a situation where I believe the church, the people of America are going to suddenly have their eyes open to what's really going on. This homosexual president they have, Muslim, who knows what else he is, non-American, and his transgender wife are messing around with American people, laughing, lying, mocking, and making the women and the children of this country, of these countries, vulnerable by their playing games with our lives. Now, in the past, the Caesars of Rome used to do all that crappy crap because nobody had the power to stand up to them. Nobody had the right to say no to these mental cases that were ruling over them. But I believe the church, the bride of Christ, is getting to the point where she's saying that's enough. Enough is enough. And the men of the church, the men of the United States are going to finally stand up and say, you're not going to put our wives and our children in a vulnerable state because of your evil schemes and plans. Now, going back to that eye thing that I went through over the weekend, I believe that this is part of the whole process of the Lord removing the scales from our eyes to see the truth about what these evil people are up to. This is enmity for the woman. This is what this is all about. The serpent's hatred for the woman and putting her and her children in a vulnerable position. And it's about time the men of this world stood up for their women and honored them as the weaker vessel. And like I said, I was under such a heavy anointing when I woke up from this dream. I knew what the Lord was saying. We're getting close to the end here, people. The bride isn't going to put up with this. The church is not going to put up with this because it's an insult for women. They're lowering the status and the protection on women and on children in order to fulfill their evil plans and schemes. The Lord said, honor your wives. Honor them as you love you. You love yourself. You love your wives. You take care of them. You protect them. You honor them as the weaker vessel of not having the physical strength and the male attitude of protecting themselves. They need their men to look after them and to protect them and to love them as they would love themselves. Something has got to change. Something is wrong, and it's being exposed. And the Lord is, like I said, people, we're getting so close to the end here. We're getting so close to the end of this. The bride being without spot or wrinkle is so close to being fulfilled. So close. I wish I could tell you how I know this, but I do. This is huge. Something very, very, very big is getting ready to hit the fan. Okay? Some big, big crap is getting ready to hit the fan. And the American people are going to stand up in this dream. And I was arguing with Obama and Michelle. They were totally oblivious to what I was trying to say to them. Totally oblivious. And it was only making me more angry. I told you this was a big one. Something getting ready to go down. God bless you. I'll talk to you all later.